Live from Citizen TV, this is Tonight with Sam Gituku.
Hello there, thank you for choosing Citizen TV on this 4th day of September 2025. And tonight we'll be having a conversation. It's almost 3 years since the swearing in of President William Ruto, but for Parliament, it's already 3 years for the 13th Parliament. We'll be talking about how far they have come, exactly looking at their performance, but also the thinking of these members of Parliament who have not always seen eye to eye with their political parties. They're talking about Karoli Omondi, Member of Parliament for Suba South, Gadheno Mushamba, Member of Parliament for Githunguri constituency, and Babu Owino, who is the Member of Parliament for Embakasi East. They'll be here to talk about the state of the nation, but also what they think the future should look like. Of course, appreciating some of the current affairs of what is happening in the country. And that will be the conversation taking the place of News Gang. And we will have that shortly from now. But first, here are the top stories tonight.
Sisi hatuna silaha kujilinda, maisha yetu iko hatarini.
Fear grips Mandera as residents protest alleged incursion by Jubaland forces, even as government denies any invasion.
Me personally, mimi nimeibiwa simu. Samsung.
Hii kisu ilikuwa inindunge hapa hii.
Gang menace in Nairobi. Residents and business owners live in fear as criminal gangs terrorize Nairobi.
Hawa wafanyikazi kuanzia mwezi huu wa 9 tuwaweke katika mpango wa permanent and pensionable because we have the resources to do it.
Ruto steps in on UHC workers. President urges counties to end grandstanding and fast-track hiring.
At least if you know what really happened, there is the aspect of forgiving.
Those who promised to work with us kept quiet a whole year.
Remembering Hillside fire victims, 1 year on, parents still seek answers into the tragedy's cause. Our sign language interpreter is Yola Nzale. Tonight, to begin with the security situation in the north, residents of Mandera staged protest over the presence of Jubaland forces at Border 1 crossing point, complaining that it has disrupted learning, transport and farming activities. The aggrieved community is calling for a complete withdrawal of the foreign troops from their residential areas. However, the deputy chief at Border 1 says there is relative calm in the area, allowing learning and daily activities to continue uninterrupted. Seth Olale with the latest update on the Mandera security situation.
As they debate on whether Jubaland forces are occupying Kenyan territory in Mandera County, causing panic and disrupting activities rages on, a section of residents staged protest to demand for the withdrawal of the neighboring troops.
Sasa kudogo bandi ya Bipwan, iko kudogo malalamiko iko. Sasa watu wa Jubaland iko ndani huko shamba. Sisi lalamika.
The residents now say they are living in fear owing to the presence of the foreign forces in residential areas.
Sisi hatuna silaha kujilinda, maisha yetu iko hatarini.
The residents raising concerns over their proximity to the ongoing fighting between Jubaland forces and the federal government troops.
As they are fighting, the bullets that are lost from where it is supposed to be might land on Mandera town.
Tumeongea kutosha. Tumesema kila kitu, serikali hataki kusikia watu ya BB1, watu ya Mandera County.
This despite Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen denying presence of Jubaland forces in Mandera.
Lakini hakuna policy ya Kenya ya kusema tutakuwa na askari ya Somalia ama whether regional ama ni national ambayo itafanyia mambo ya vita kupande ya Kenya.
Mandera's Border 1 Assistant Chief Ahmed Malim Ibrahim says there is relative calm in the area with learning continuing uninterrupted.
Kwa kabisa upande usalama tuko salama. Hakuna tension ya insecurity kwa border point 1.
Mandera's Governor Mohamed Khalif and Senator Ali Roba have complained about the presence of Jubilant forces at the border zones, saying it's causing panic and anxiety among residents. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has called on the government to act with speed and relocate Jubilant forces out of Mandera. Gachagua, who criticized Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen for downplaying the insecurity situation there, says the presence of foreign military on Kenyan soil exposes the security agencies who are supposed to protect Kenyans. The DCP party leader spoke at a funeral in Madhyoya, Murang'a County. Gatete Njoroge has more.
Following cries from Mandera leaders and residents over invasion by Jubilant forces in the area, opposition leaders have added their voice to what they say is a national threat. DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua, while speaking in Madhyoya, Murang'a County, castigated Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen for dismissing the cries of the residents.
Na wewe waziri wa usalama unashindana na governor ako kwa ground. Governor anasema iko magaidi Kenya. Wananchi wanasema iko magaidi Kenya. Saa hii waziri wa usalama anasema ati lazima wafanye uchunguzi. Sasa uchunguzi gani na hiyo watu wamekuwa hapo mwezi mbili? Hata waziri wa usalama hana habari hii watu iko Kenya.
Gachagua continued to defend his statement on alleged government engagement with terror groups, even as he called out leaders from the area who he says have failed to protect their people.
Na mimi nilisema iko shida kwa Mandera ya usalama na mambo ya magaidi. Wakanipigia kelele hata wakasema ati nishikwe nikirudi. Sasa ile nilisema kila mtu anasema namna hiyo.
The former deputy president now says, as opposition, they will not relent in their quest to have Jubilant forces relocated back to their country. He argues that any more delays will be detrimental to Mandera County residents.
Sisi tutawatetea. Mimi nikiwa kiongozi wa Kenya, nitamtetea nyinyi kwa sababu shule imefungwa, iko hali ya taharuki, na lazima tutetee watu ya Mandera. Lazima hawa askari waondoke Kenya, warudi kwao.
Gachagua hit out at President William Ruto, alleging that the money being dished out during empowerment meetings and State House visits is part of state resources being diverted from key development activities. The DCP party leader was among mourners at the burial of teacher Grace Mwinga, a sister to one of his allies Njadhi Mwinga, in Murang'a County. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV.
President William Ruto has called for the immediate absorption of more than 7,500 universal health coverage workers into permanent and pensionable terms, in what appears to be disagreement with the deal reached between the Ministry of Health and the Council of Governors to retain the workers on SRC salary scales until June next year. The president urged the two levels of government to end the impasse and expedite the process. President Ruto made the announcement in Mombasa, where he also issued employment letters to some of the workers. Mary Mwoki reports.
The president has waded into the UHC workers' transition dispute pitting the Council of Governors and the Ministry of Health. Speaking at the Coast General Teaching and Referral Hospital in Mombasa, William Ruto declared that the more than 7,500 staff must be absorbed this month on permanent and pensionable terms to give them an assurance of job security and enhanced pay.
Hawa wafanyikazi tunataka kuwatoa katika utendakazi wa kandarasi, tuwafanye permanent and pensionable. Mimi nataka niulize counties, ndugu zangu county governments, hawa wafanyikazi kuanzia mwezi huu wa 9 tuwaweke katika mpango wa permanent and pensionable because we have the resources to do it.
His order contradicts an agreement between the Health Ministry and the Council of Governors that would have delayed absorption on the permanent and pensionable terms until June next year. But the UHC workers who have downed their tools several times in the last 1 year had pressed for immediate conversion and payment of gratuities. The president also rebuked counties that have delayed stipends for community health promoters, demanding arrears be cleared by the end of the week.
The heroes of universal health, the men and women who have made it possible for us to register citizens in SHA, the people who have participated by going to every home and every village in the morning, in the evening, are the CHPs.
Ruto commended Mombasa County for leading in social health authority registration at 69%, saying the county had received more than 1.5 billion shillings in SHA funds. Elsewhere, lawmakers are turning up the heat on Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale over persistent failures in Kenya's new insurance scheme. The National Assembly Committee on Health are accusing the Ministry of Health of bungling the rollout of the Social Health Authority, saying the failures are crippling hospitals and locking out patients.
Because when you close a facility, people suffer. It's not the people who make the mistake that suffer. It is the people that need services. So we are going to take that position, sort out the people who have caused problems, deal with them, but let facilities operate.
Mary Mwoki, Citizen TV.
At the same time, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has ordered a major crackdown on muggings in Nairobi, directing security agencies to intensify operations against criminal gangs targeting unsuspecting residents. The CS says the government is concerned about the surge in violent robberies, many linked to groups posing as street children. Kenyans have taken to social media to share harrowing accounts of being ambushed and robbed in the Central Business District. Ode Francis has that story.
Anxiety has gripped Nairobi residents after a surge of violence, robberies, attacks and intimidation in the Central Business District flooded social media over the past week. Kenyans have been taking to social media to share harrowing experiences at the hands of juvenile delinquents, followed, robbed in broad daylight, and in some cases threatened with knives or even harassment in shocking ways. Kimathi Street has become perilous after midnight.
Napata kuna hospitali fulani imetoka na huko inakuja inarusha masindano hapa zikiwa boxed hapa kwa ile ni. So napata vijana machokora fulani wakipita hapa wanapata wase wametoka pale Fabu Kutei. Msana kutishia na mimi nimetishiwa na.
Along Moi Avenue, pedestrians walk with heightened anxiety, unsure when or where criminals might strike. Eric Okumu, a watchman, recounts how he was mugged by the gang.
Last week Thursday, kitu saa 2 hivi, walikuja hapa kuna mama fulani anauzia mafuta ndege, walikuja hapa kuna mafuta ndege, wakaanza kuzua vurugu. Mimi nikaona wananiharibia kazi yangu, nikaenda kwa zuia. Wakaamua kunivamia, wakanipiga mpaka mkono, nikaibiwa na simu.
Hii alama unaona hii ni kisu hii. Hii kisu ilikuwa inindunge hapa hii. Mungu akasaidia ikakata hapa. Ilikuwa mambo ya last week ile nyingine. Ukijaribu kungangana unaona? Ndio hiyo kisu. Uko na vi? Uko na visu. Utafanya aje? Unapora pesa yako na simu.
Street children so walikuwa okora. So akanisimamisha. Ananiambia, "Hey rada youth. Hiyo nini umebeba hapo?" Wakaanza kunishikashika mfuko. Jamaa mmoja akasikia simu. Nikaona hapa mambo itaharibika. Lekuwa jamaa akaambia Omar rafiki yake watoe kisu. Mwingine akaanza kumwambia ama tumpake mafi.
Another danger spot targeted by these gangs is Jogoo Road, particularly the Mbotela stretch. Poor street lighting in the area creates ideal condition for criminal activities, leaving residents and commuters vulnerable after dark.
Now it is at midnight. At this particular time, Nairobians are moving from town towards home, while others are moving from this area to town for work. Beside me, there are other Nairobians who are waiting to board matatus back to town. Now, with this darkness, is their security guaranteed?
Several key locations, including railways roundabout, archives, Odeon, and OTC had either minimal or no police presence.
Watu kama sisi tunatoka kazi usiku, unahofia maisha yako. ukienda kufika kwa gate, kabla ufungue gate, unasikia watu wamekutokea. Around saa 10 usiku hata wala mama anaenda soko wako na shida.
Victims say mobile phones, laptops and cash are the items most frequently stolen during these attacks. The criminals often work in groups, using motorcycles to make a quick getaway, even brazenly escaping in the glare of CCTV cameras across CBD. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has confirmed that a security operation is currently underway to tackle the rising cases of mugs in Nairobi's CBD.
And even these mugging issues, as I've told you, part of it is perpetrated by so-called street children, organizing themselves in small groups with knives sometimes and attacking and suspecting citizens. That is a daily responsibility of the OCS in the police station. That's what I was telling the OCSs today. Shouldn't wait for, unless a very unique challenge that has come out of, a particular issue. But things like theft, muggings, that is a daily responsibility of the police officers within the area.
Unapata serikali ikikuja haishiki hawa waizi, inakuja na tushika si watu tunajitafutia. So tunafeel vibaya sana, unapata serikali si ndio deal na sisi baada ya kudili na hawa waizi.
Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, Kenyan taxpayers will have to foot up to 25 billion shillings in penalties and interest accrued for the failure by the government to clear pending bills in different departments and government agencies. According to the report by the Control of Budget on the national government's budget implementation for the financial year ending June 2025, infrastructural ministries like roads and transport, water and energy dockets are the most notorious at a time there seems to be no solid approach to reducing the pending bills that are now at over 524 billion shillings. Stephen Leto reports.
In the 2024-2025 financial year report, the pending bills headache is a key point of focus, with the Control of Budget saying the pending bills increased by 9 billion shillings in just 12 months. The elephant in the room is the penalties interest that the pending bills continue to accrue. So far, Kenyans will have no choice but to pay an extra 25.3 billion shillings as interest arising from the delay in settling of the bills by various government institutions. The CS Davis Chirchir-led Roads and Transport Ministry is the notorious among the government ministries and state departments with the highest penalty to settle. The ministry is to pay penalties amounting to 21.3 billion shillings on top of its original pending bills of 121.8 billion shillings. Kenya Rural Roads Authority KERA, Kenya National Highways Authority KENHA, Kenya Urban Roads Authority KURA have all accrued billions of shillings as penalties. The Ministry of Energy has accrued penalties amounting to 1 billion shillings through its departments National Oil Corporation of Kenya and the Kenya Electricity Generating Company KenGen. The Ministry of Health has pending bills penalties interest amounting to 1.5 billion shillings under the Kenya Medical Research Institute, Kenya Medical Supplies Authority KEMSA, Kenyatta National Hospital, Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, as well as Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital add to the list of institutions with pending bills in the Health Ministry that all suppliers a total of 54 billion shillings. The Ministry of Water and Sanitation through its department Tana Athi Water Works Development Agency have accrued penalties amounting to 1.2 billion shillings. The accumulation of pending bills restrains business cash flows, resulting in liquidity constraints, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, as they have to endure the long wait to settle overdue payments. According to Nyakango, the pending bills menace has caused a scale back of operations, layoff of workers, and shutdown of operations in affected institutions. COB has recommended that the National Treasury fast-track the verification of all pending bills of the national government and expedite the payment of eligible pending bills. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
To politics now, the United Opposition team led by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka is set to announce its official outfit name and symbol next week in a bid to galvanize the support of the team under one umbrella identity in preparation for the by-elections in November and the 2027 general election. However, the unity call seems to be dividing the team already, with Democracy for Citizens Party Deputy Party Leader Cleophas Malala rejecting the appointment of the former United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Secretary General Dr. Mukisa Kitui as the unit's spokesperson. Emmanuel Toh reports.
The meeting, which lasted 4 hours at a Nairobi hotel Wednesday, brought together all the top party leaders of the United Opposition Coalition to take stock of their political marriage in preparation for the November 27th by-election and the 2027 general polls that are less than 2 years away. To have a united front, the coalition is expected to officially launch the official coalition name on Monday next week, complete with a symbol and slogan. The move is set to rejig and rebuild opposition's team ahead of the by-elections, which have been billed as a do-or-die acid test. The team is toying with a Swahili name as a possible way to reach the masses. The secretariat, which will be led by Dr. Mukisa Kitui, is also expected to be unveiled Monday.
In this prophetic altar,
the Kenya Moja coalition, which brings together youthful MPs across the political divide, has already excited the masses barely a month since its launch. However, a push to have the coalition name its presidential candidate in the next 2 months was shelved as the teams continue to strengthen their parties. All the top opposition principals have declared interest to run for the top office. The closed-door meeting also resolved to have the former United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Secretary General Dr. Mukisa Kitui as its spokesperson in charge of all communication for the group.
Dear Kenyans.
However, barely hours after the Unity Summit, some fissures are already showing, with the DCP Deputy Party Leader Cleophas Malala, who gave the event a wide berth, refusing to board the new outfits agreement. Speaking to Citizen TV, Malala said, quote, "My position on the choice of the spokesperson is that the United Opposition deserves to demonstrate willingness in engaging with fresh youthful leadership that can propel the country to the next frontier of politics and governance, qualities which Dr. Mukisa Kitui is acutely lacking." Malala also maintained his hard stance on the Malava constituency by-election slated for November. The coalition had prevailed on the DCP party and DAP Kenya party to have one of them stand down their candidates to prevent splitting their votes. However, Malala maintains, as the DCP deputy party leader from Kakamega County, he ought to lead the campaigns for the candidate all the way to the ballot, with DAP Kenya leadership also sticking to their guns. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Away from politics, 1 year since the fire tragedy at Hillside Endarasha Academy in Nyeri County, the school community is yet to find answers as to the source of the night inferno that consumed a dormitory, killing 21 boys. The pain of loss is still fresh in the hearts and minds of families that lost their sons. They accuse the government of neglecting them, despite numerous assurances that they would get answers. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen now says an inquest to the tragedy may be the only way to establish what exactly happened on the night of 5th September last year. Kamau Mwangi reports. Welcome back. A committee appointed by President William Ruto to compensate victims and survivors of protests since 2017 has officially been sworn in. The 18-member panel will be chaired by lawyer Professor Makau Mutua, with Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo as vice chairperson. The tribunal has pledged to deliver justice not only to families who lost their loved ones, but also to the police officers caught in the violence. Melito Letenges reports.
18 committee members appointed by President William Ruto to spearhead the compensation process for victims of protests were sworn in Thursday at the Kenyatta International Convention Center in a ceremony presided over by Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Winfrida Boyani. Chairman Professor Makau Mutua urged Kenyans to judge the panel by the final results of their work.
The proof of the pudding is always in the eating. Judge us by what we do, not what we say. We will talk less so that our actions can speak louder. Our goal is to break the cycle of violence in this country.
The panel stressed its mandate is not only to compensate protest victims, but also to ensure that law enforcement officers are not left behind.
There is no Kenya that belongs exclusively to politicians or their children. Neither does it belong to broad-based government, nor a country of cousins. We only have one nation that we must protect.
The law enforcement people are also our fellow citizens. They are our children. They are our brothers. They are our fathers. And we equally feel for them, those who have been affected.
Faith Odhiambo, also serving as LSK president, defended a controversial decision to join the panel despite heavy criticism, where some accused her of abandoning her duty to defend citizens.
And let it be known that I have in no way betrayed your trust. Let it be clear that access to criminal justice remains critical to me. And no, I will not take any prisoners.
She insisted she is prepared to resign if her principles conflict with the committee's work.
Should my efforts be frustrated or cannot be or undermined in any manner whatsoever, I am prepared to do the honorable thing in fidelity with the rule of law and the Constitution of Kenya.
Meanwhile, questions continue to mount over the panel's constitutional legitimacy. The Chief Registrar of the Judiciary emphasized the need to ground the process firmly in law.
This process must be anchored in legislation to guarantee consistency, transparency, and enforceability beyond what prevails in the day.
Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
All right, and it's time for us now to have the first part of the conversation. Have in studio Karoli Omondi, Member of Parliament for Suba South, Gathona Mushomba, Member of Parliament for Githunguri constituency, and Babu Owino, the Member of Parliament for Embakasi East. It's good to see all of you here this evening. Let's start with that story that we just aired there about compensating victims of demonstrations and protests, which has been sworn in to find a framework on how to do this. Let me begin with you, Honorable Owino. Your thoughts about this particular initiative?
Sam, I want to tell you that these victims, the families, lost their loved ones. The only mistake these Gen Zs did was to fight against the high cost of living, was to fight against the overtaxation, was to fight on matters unemployment in this country, was to fight for reduction of university fee. That is the only mistake that these comrades committed, that these Gen Zs committed. Then the government went further to destroy their lives, to kill them, and to give pain to their families. And I want to tell you that a life can never be compensated, even though now our comrades are resting in peace. I would partly support the issue of compensation with a rider that take, for example, that a parent educated the child from primary school to high school to the university. The average age of those who are killed is 25 years. Assuming that these people were to die naturally, through natural death, an act of God, then they would have lived even for up to 90 years, which means that at 25 years, they still had no jobs. Then to 90 years, we have 65 years. If the government wants to be genuine, then they should compensate them for the 65 years, assuming that each person who died was to earn a minimum of 30,000 Kenya shillings per month. In a year, it will be 30,000 times 12, which is 360,000 Kenya shillings in a year. Then multiply for the rest of the years remaining, which are 65 years. You will get 23,400,000 on the minimum that the government should compensate each family to a maximum of over 100 million Kenya shillings.
Okay. Mheshimiwa Mushomba, this approach at a time that we've heard from the justice sector saying that there are challenges, IPOA saying that they have submitted files to ODPP, but ODPP is yet to act on some of them, but on others they have referred for further investigations. There's an inquest into Rex Masai's killing. How do you talk about justice and compensation in the current framework?
First of all, thank you for having me this evening, and much regards from Githungurians, of whom I've spent the better part of the day with. I am a bit not so convinced that the government is doing this compensation with an intention to do good. I think, to me, this compensation is coming as a cover-up. A cover-up because we have not even exhausted on matters of inquiry who killed who. For example, the many that we are compensating, who killed them? And what platforms and frameworks have we put in place to make sure that we not only deliver compensation as a package, monetary-wise, but also justice? For example, those that were killed in Kiambu, whom I attended for the funeral and during the preparations, we struggled very much to make sure that we have the post-mortem done on the bodies with the presence of IPOA. And some of the families actually even got tired of waiting, and they buried their loved ones without even putting up the processes that are supposed to be put before they bury their loved ones. And therefore, hardly is there evidence that can be followed. So I'm seeing like the government is rushing into coming up with this whole thing, because I'm sure the president is preparing to go to the USA. And of course, the issue of human rights violation is going to be on his shoulders. And I'm sure he wants to go with a file showing that I'm doing something in my country.
Okay.
People died, yes. There were riots and demonstrations, yes. People were killed, yes. But I've done this and this and this. But it is not intentional for the government to actually, they don't have the goodwill in this process. That's my take.
Mheshimiwa Omondi, so this is coming at a time that it was in March that your party signed a 10-point agenda with UDA, which is in Kenya Kwanza, to have victims of protests really looked into and their affairs looked into. Does this answer what you are looking for? But also, why is Parliament? Because it's been more than 1 year.
Thank you, Sam. I don't want to address it as a party issue. Because the issue of compensating victims of abuse of power has been with us for a long time. Many Kenyans may not be aware, but we have something called the Victims Protection Act, CAP 79A, enacted in 2022, which actually also provides some mechanisms for compensating victims of crime and abuse of power. And we also have Kenya National Human Rights Commission, actually, which should also be dealing with this issue. So we seem to have chosen a direction of operating outside the established institutions. And I don't want to dwell too much on that, because the key issue is how do we try and give some support to those who have truly been hurt over the years. But there's a question that my colleague Wamushomba has raised, justice and accountability. Actually, when you talk of compensating people, they go together with justice and accountability. So we need to see that also. That is how you deal with this issue.
So who pursues that?
It should still be the same government. Yeah, those who are responsible for shooting people, those who abused their power, who killed. Yeah, I think we need to look at justice and accountability. And as I've always said, it is not just the victims, the civilian victims. We should also look at compensating police officers and their families, who are also victims, actually. Yeah. Okay. I think we need to look at it. But let me add something. We had experience of compensation after 2008 post-election violence, and not everybody was compensated. I hope this time we will be holistic, we will be inclusive, and we will involve compensation for everybody. And we should ask our fundamental question: what form of compensation? Okay. Is it just monetary? Is it psychosocial support? Is it livelihood support? What is it? Okay. I hope Makau Mutua will answer all those questions.
The reason I'm asking that, Mheshimiwa Mushomba, is because as we speak, we have been serializing stories of young men that are still in hospital. Some of them have been unable to afford medication. Yet this work is now beginning, but justice appears to be very slow.
You know, Sam, I'll pick from where my brother has just talked about who are we compensating first. Are we compensating those that suffered emotional damage, emotional torture, or physical injuries, deaths, businesses that were looted and, and vandalized? And when you talk about hospital, by the way, I am one of those that went to Kenyatta National Hospital during the 2 days of serious demos and murders. And I wondered why the management of the hospital was actually stopping me from even getting to Kenyatta National Hospital, because I had to fight literally to get in. And when I went in, some patients were hidden from me. Yes, they were hidden from me. I was not able to see some of the patients. And my interest was minors, actually. I had gone there because there were 3 minors that I was interested in that were actually bedridden in bullets. And I needed to know why they were injured. Were they in the demos, or were they caught in their houses, or what happened? And I went in. And when I went in, I was shocked that that very day I went to Kenyatta National Hospital, 19 minors, 19 underage. Young boys and girls were in hospital. Majority of them were boys. And to my shock, 7-year-old boy had 3 bullets.
Okay.
So when we say we are compensating, are we compensating the mother who has been in the ward for all that time? Are we compensating the patient? Are we compensating that she lost all her businesses? Like there's one who told me she was a hair attendant, and she had to close her business, and she's a single mother.
Okay.
So, and this Macau tribunal, how constitutional is it, by the way?
Sammy, what's your guess?
I guess it's unconstitutional. It is irregularly constituted.
Why?
Because why are we jumping out the processes that are outlined in this constitution? Why are we overlapping the functions of the institutions that are enshrined in this constitution? Why? Why can't we wait for IPOA to tell us, amongst the 167 allegedly killed persons, who killed them?
Okay.
Which bullets? When I went to Kenyatta National Hospital, the boy that I was following from Limuru, the doctor told me that the bullets they removed from that boy's body was a bullet that was supposed to kill an elephant, not to be used on human beings.
Okay.
And I wondered, where would a gun that is allegedly supposed to be killing elephants be used on a human being?
Okay.
So why are we jumping processes? Why can't we allow IPOA to do their job? Now that the passos and the remnants of that bullet are there, why are we rushing to put this tribunal in place and rush the process?
Are you saying elephants are supposed to be killed, or it was supposed to immobilize?
It was supposed to immobilize. Apologize. Immobilize the elephants. But it was used to immobilize, allegedly to immobilize human beings.
All right. We'll discuss more about what they think about various issues, including the president earlier today started marking 3 years in office, talking about the achievements that his government has made so far. But first, we go to the story that the prime suspect in the murder of 20-year-old university student Faith Kemunto has been arrested for allegedly killing his girlfriend and burying her in a shallow grave in Nyamira County. This as detectives from Homicide Department exhumed a body believed to be that of Faith Kemunto in Mausi, Nyamira County, in an exercise led by government pathologists. The body has been taken to Nyamira Hospital mortuary, where a postmortem is expected to be conducted on Friday.
Wametuarifu kwamba lazima uchunguzi wa DNA ufanywe.
Kwa hivyo sasa ni kama tumepata relief kidogo, kwa sababu huyu mtoto sasa mwili umechukuliwa.
And with that, we're taking a short break here on Tonight. When we come back, we have more stories, but also remember, you have a conversation with, should I call them backbenchers, on what they think about the country and their future plans when it comes to politics. 2 of them are in the group called Kenya Moja. What does that exactly mean and why? After the break. Speaking during the commissioning of factory machinery in Nairobi, Works Secretary in the Ministry of Public Works, Nicholas Mutua, said the state is working to create an enabling environment for industries to expand and create jobs under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Officials noted that more small and medium enterprises need to adopt modern technology to remain competitive and meet rising market demand.
The government has been very keen in making sure that as much as possible, locally manufactured products are incorporated in our designs, in our consumption. That's why government keeps on talking of import duty, all those kind of things, to make sure we only import what we cannot get locally. We give our local manufacturers a priority first, because it is through them that we are building employment locally.
The biggest support that the government can give is to ensure that incentives are provided to local manufacturers, and disincentives, if you like, or extra tax is put on goods that are manufactured outside. That's not to say that it is to allow for inefficient production, but rather to make up for the economies of scale that you need in order to bring prices.
The Central Bank of Kenya has granted operating licenses to 27 additional digital credit providers, further expanding the country's formal digital lending landscape. According to the updated directory released today, the new entrants include Mwananchi Credit, Platinum Credit Limited, Abito Limited, Ajax Credit Kenya Limited, Aspire Lending Limited, Bosrich Credit Limited, Brisk Credit Limited, Easy Asset Management Limited, Easyways Credit Limited, Elevate Credit Limited, Fincel Limited, among others. The approvals bring the total number of licensed digital lenders to 153, reflecting CBK's continued push to regulate a sector previously criticized for predatory lending, lack of transparency, and consumer abuse. CBK has, however, directed DCPs to adhere to the provisions of the CBK Digital Credit Providers Regulations 2022, which requires strict consumer protection standards, responsible lending practices, and safeguarding of customer data. The government has signed a partnership with the French Development Agency, AFD, that will provide a 75 million shilling grant to develop the country's geothermal resources. The funding will enable Kenya Electricity Generating Company, KenGen, and the Geothermal Development Agency, or the development company, GDC, to deliver projects that support national development through clean energy. The grant falls under the Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and France Geothermal Partnership Project, aimed at building capacity, co-creating strategies, and applying best practices across the geothermal value chain. This comes at a time when the country's electricity demand has continued to rise.
The whole purpose of our partnership through the different projects you mentioned is basically to be able to have a cheaper, affordable, and accessible energy for the Wananchi of Kenya, because there's no development without access to a cheap and reliable energy.
This is going to help us in one assessment of geothermal resource, which is very critical because it requires a lot of time and a lot of resources. 2, developing a roadmap for development. 3, on capacity building for our staff, and of course the program development.
And Kenya will host the first East Africa Halal Expo in May 2026, positioning the country at the center of the continent's halal economy. The event, organized by the Future Growth Forum and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, is part of efforts to open new trade and investment opportunities. Future Growth Forum CEO Abdulaziz Bilo Ali says the expo will tap into the $7 trillion global halal market, spanning food, finance, pharmaceuticals, and lifestyle industries. The forum will also address fragmented halal licensing and push for harmonized certification to ease regional trade.
Halal is no longer just a niche market. It has become a global standard. The Kenyan businesses, most of them, those seeking to export their goods outside of the country, that is one of the criteria they have to follow. They have to be halal certified.
For a $7 trillion economy, halal economy, that offers a huge amount of potential, and it is an opportunity, and next year will be a big opportunity for us to showcase how we can make all these small farmers commercialize or put together, aggregate commercial quantities.
Kenya stands uniquely positioned as a gateway between Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, with a strong logistics network, world-class ports, and a business environment committed to innovation. By embracing and promoting halal trade, Kenya offers its business access to over 2 billion consumers worldwide.
The national football team Harambee Stars will take on the Gambia tomorrow afternoon in a World Cup qualifier at the Moi International Sports Centre, Kasarani Stadium. This will be the first match for the Stars since the conclusion of the CHAN tournament nearly a week ago. Coach Benny McCarthy says they will approach the match with the same intensity that they have played with at Kasarani, where they played all the 5 matches in the CHAN competition without losing a match or a single match in open play. With 9 foreign-based players at their disposal, the technical bench wants to win the match tomorrow, as well as the next one against Seychelles on Tuesday. These matches are now formalities for the Stars as they stand a very slim chance of qualifying for the FIFA World Cup next year. Kenya is 4th in the group and will want to improve their position as they shift their targets away from the FIFA World Cup qualification.
We want to fight hard until the last group game and hopefully get to the maximum of 18 and see what happens there. But apart from that, also we have to build a team for the next coming assignments as well. And
the intentions is really to give it everything we have. Like I said, it is a kind of impossible task at the moment when you look at how far ahead the front Wolfpack are, but for us it's just about every match at a time and doing the best that we possibly can to try and collect maximum points, and you never know.
And the Gambia had a feel of the Kasarani Stadium on Thursday afternoon as they target to frustrate their hosts, the Harambee Stars, in the afternoon kickoff tomorrow. Coach Jonathan McKinstry is familiar with the Kasarani Stadium, where he lifted 2 trophies with record Kenyan Premier League champions Gor Mahia. The Gambia are a hard nut to crack as they surprised the Harambee Stars with a 2-0 lead before drawing 3-3 in their previous encounter. They are aware of the hostile environment that awaits them at Kasarani, but Coach McKinstry has confidence in his squad made up purely of European-based players. They are banking on their wealth of experience playing in Europe to surprise the Harambee Stars as they aim for a win and 3 valuable points.
But, we come here confident that we can put on a good performance, and that's the starting point. If we put on a good performance, then we have every chance to take a good result. But we also know, look, the Harambee Stars are going to give everything for the result. They've had a good period recently in CHAN.
Kenya showed us they can compete, and they're a good team. So we're going to learn from our mistakes from the last game, and inshallah, we're going to deliver tomorrow. But I know it's going to be an interesting game because Kenya is playing home with their home support, but I think this is football.
Kenya Police Bullets are off to a flying start after gunning down Kampala Queens in their opening match of the Sekafa CAF Champions League qualifiers at the Nyayo National Stadium. After a barren first half in a physical match, the Bullets struck early in the second half. Substitute Emily Moranga heading in the all-important goal. The win is a major boost for the Bullets, who top Pool A and have a good chance of advancing to the quarterfinals if they avoid defeat in their second Pool A match against Dedan FC of Eritrea. The tournament has 9 teams divided into 3 pools of 3 teams each.
All the way kutoka Suneka City anaiambia
FKF Premier League champions Police FC have a litmus test on Friday afternoon when they face a highly rated Singida FC in their second match of the Sekafa Kagame Cup, a club championship in Zanzibar. Police made a statement in their debut Sekafa tournament, winning 4-0 against Gard Cortes of Djibouti. Despite missing key players who are with the national football team Harambee Stars for the World Cup qualifiers, Police FC used their new signings Joash Onyango, Edward Ondemu and Eustace Jasara in their opening match. Ondemu was effective in that match, scoring the 4th goal. Police will have all their players after the group stage, as the Harambee Stars players will join them in Zanzibar on Wednesday next week after the conclusion of the FIFA World Cup qualifying matches.
Ushindi huwa unapata faida yake ukiongeza ushindi mwingine. Kwa hiyo tuliopata ni kizuri ili tuweze kuhakikisha kama ule ushindi ulikuwa ni wa faida. Lazima tutafute ushindi kwa mechi ya kesho. Kwa hiyo tunaomba Mungu ili tuweze kujiweka sehemu salama.
And the Kenya Under-16 basketball team made a huge statement of intent when they came from behind to edge out Morocco 55-49 in the ongoing FIBA Under-16 Women Afro Basketball Championship in Kigali, Rwanda. Morocco were the better side in the first quarter, taking a slim half basket lead at 16-15 at the end of the quarter. In the second quarter, the North Africans maintained their lead, adding one more point in the gap to lead 31-29 at the halftime break. The tables were turned in the fourth quarter with Morocco leading 47-44. Kenya hit two successive 3 points without a reply to take a 50-47 lead. They then scored 5 unanswered points to win the match 55-49. Rihanna Nyarlando was in great form to score 21 points for Kenya and also grabbed 11 rebounds. Brianna Fumbula added 8 points and took 11 rebounds as Kenya stamped their authority in their maiden appearance at the tournament.
Tir à 3 points. Kenya se tire. Cherny, contre-attaque marocaine. Et le bon...
All right, so that's it with the news update of the evening. We are taking a short break. When I come back, remember I have the members of parliament who are taking some serious decisions in their career. We talk about that, but also what they think about where the country is heading and exactly what is the role of parliament in these times, as well as the executive marking 3 years next week on Friday. Stay tuned. You're back in a moment. Coming up, MPs Omondi, Owino and Omushomba speak about performance of the executive and parliament 3 years on.